The grave had my name on it. I stood in the cold night air, staring at the old stone. My flashlight shook in my hand. The beam moved across the letters again. Daniel Harper. That was my name. The same spelling. The same date of birth. But the date of death was tomorrow. A cold wind moved through the cemetery. Dry leaves scraped across the ground. The iron gate behind me creaked slowly as the wind pushed it. I felt something heavy in my chest. This made no sense. I had never been to this cemetery before. The place was called Raven Hill Cemetery, on the edge of a small town in Oregon. My car had broken down near the highway 30 minutes earlier. I saw a narrow road and followed it, hoping to find help. Instead, I found this place. A graveyard. Old stones leaned in different directions. Many were cracked. Some looked hundreds of years old. But this grave was new. The soil was fresh. Someone had dug it recently. My flashlight moved again over the stone. Daniel Harper. My name. My throat felt dry. This is not funny, I whispered into the dark. No one answered. Only the wind moved through the tall trees. I slowly stepped closer to the grave. The dirt was soft, loose, like it had been opened, then buried again. A strange smell came from the ground. Wet soil, rotting leaves. Something about it made my stomach twist. I looked around. The cemetery stretched far into the darkness. Old oak trees stood like tall shadows. And for a moment, I felt like someone was watching me. My flashlight moved across the graves. Nothing. Just stones. Just darkness. I exhaled slowly. Okay, this is just a stupid prank. Maybe someone in town had the same name as me. Maybe it was a coincidence. But deep down, I knew that was a lie. The birth date was the same. Exactly the same. I stepped back from the grave. Then something behind me moved. Crunch. The sound of gravel. I turned quickly and pointed the flashlight. Hello. The light shook across the path. No one. Just the iron gate swaying slowly in the wind. Crunch. The sound came again. Closer this time. My heart started beating faster. Who's there? I called out. No answer. Only silence. Then the flashlight beam moved across something strange. Footprints. Fresh footprints in the dirt path, leading toward the graves. But there was something wrong. Very wrong. They were barefoot, and they looked twisted. The toes pointed backward, like whatever made them was walking the wrong way. My chest tightened. I followed the footprints with the light. They went between two graves, then disappeared behind a tall stone statue of an angel. The statue stood in the middle of the cemetery. Its face was cracked. Its eyes were dark. For some reason, I didn't want to go near it. But something pulled me forward. Slowly, carefully. The gravel crunched under my shoes as I walked. The wind stopped. The cemetery became completely silent. Too silent. When I reached the statue, I lifted the flashlight. The light moved across the angel's face. And then I saw it. My blood turned cold. Something was standing behind the statue. A man. Tall. Completely still. His back was facing me. He wore old black clothes. Dirty and torn. His skin looked pale. Too pale. Hey, I said. No movement. The man did not turn. He did not speak. He just stood there, perfectly still. Then slowly, his head tilted to the side. But his body did not move. Only his head. And it tilted too far. Much farther than a normal neck could bend. My hands started shaking. Are you okay? The man finally began to turn around. Very slowly. The flashlight beam climbed up his body to his face. And the moment I saw it, my heart nearly stopped. The man had my face. The exact same face. But his skin was gray. His eyes were empty. And his lips slowly stretched into a long, unnatural smile. Daniel, he said my name. In my own voice. At that moment, the dirt on my grave behind me began to move. Something inside it was trying to come out. The dirt behind me moved again. I heard it clearly this time. Soft, slow scratching. Like fingers digging through soil. My heart slammed against my chest. I slowly turned my head toward the grave. The soil was shifting. Little pieces of dirt rolled down the side. Something underneath was pushing upward. I stumbled back. No, no, no. My flashlight shook in my hand. Behind the angel statue, the other Daniel was still standing there, watching me. That same twisted smile stretched across his pale face. Daniel, he whispered again. My own voice. But colder. Deader. I forced myself to look away from him and pointed the flashlight back at the grave. The dirt rose again. Then suddenly, a hand burst out of the ground. I screamed. The hand was gray. The skin looked dry and cracked like old paper. Dirt filled the fingernails. It clawed at the air, trying to pull the rest of the body out. My legs moved before my brain could think. I ran. Gravel exploded under my shoes as I sprinted across the cemetery path. My flashlight beam bounced wildly across crooked gravestones. Behind me, I heard something move. Fast. Too fast. Crunch. 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 Footsteps. But they were wrong. They sounded light, barefoot, and twisted, like the footsteps I saw earlier. I ran faster. Cold air burned inside my lungs. My chest felt like it would explode. The iron gate appeared ahead through the darkness. If I could reach the road, I could leave this place. Just a few more steps. Just a little farther. Then something grabbed my jacket. Hard. I was yanked backward and thrown to the ground. The flashlight rolled away, spinning across the dirt until the beam stopped against a grave. For a moment, the world went dark. My ears rang. Then slowly, I looked up. The other Daniel stood over me. The gray one. My face stared down at me. But his smile was gone now. His expression looked angry. Very angry. "You should not have come here," he said. His voice sounded exactly like mine, but deeper, like it came from somewhere underground. "I didn't mean to," I shouted. "My car broke down." He stared at me, completely still. Then his head slowly turned toward the grave behind us. The dirt was moving faster now. More hands were pushing out. Not just one, two, three. They clawed through the soil like desperate animals. I felt ice run through my body. What is that?" I whispered. The gray Daniel looked back at me, and his smile slowly returned. "That is tomorrow." My stomach dropped. Tomorrow. The date on the grave. The date of my death. "No," I said quickly. "No, that's not real. This is some kind of nightmare." The gray Daniel knelt beside me. His movements were slow and unnatural. His bones cracked softly as he bent. "You were not supposed to see this early," he said quietly. I tried to move, but his hand grabbed my arm. His grip was unbelievably strong. Cold. Like touching ice. "Let me go," I shouted. He leaned closer to my face. His empty eyes stared straight into mine. "You still have time," he whispered. "Time for what?" His smile grew wider. "Time to take your place." My mind froze. Place. Behind us, the grave exploded open. The body finally pulled itself out. The corpse stood slowly. Dirt fell from its shoulders. The skin was gray, rotting. Its eyes were hollow. But the face was mine. Exactly mine. My legs went numb. The corpse looked at the gray Daniel. Then it looked at me. And suddenly both of them spoke at the same time. In the same voice. "Which one of us will die tomorrow?" At that moment, the iron gate of Raven Hill Cemetery slammed shut behind me. By itself, the iron gate slammed shut. The sound echoed across Raven Hill Cemetery. Clang. The metal shook violently for a few seconds. Then everything went silent again. My chest was rising and falling fast. In front of me stood two versions of my own face. One was gray and alive. The other was a corpse covered in dirt. Both staring at me. My mind could not understand what I was seeing. "This isn't real," I whispered. "This can't be real." The gray Daniel tilted his head slowly. "You keep saying that," he said quietly. The corpse beside him took one stiff step forward. Its joints cracked like dry wood. Dirt fell from its arms. Its hollow eyes stayed locked on me. "Tomorrow," the corpse whispered. Its voice sounded broken, like air passing through a damaged throat. "You belong here." My stomach twisted. "No." I forced myself to stand. My legs were shaking, but I stood anyway. "No. I'm leaving." I turned and ran toward the iron gate. The gravel crunched under my shoes as I sprinted across the cemetery path. Behind me, I heard movement again, but this time there were more footsteps. Not just two. Many. Crunch. 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 The sound came from everywhere. Left. Right. Behind the graves. Behind the trees. I reached the gate and grabbed the metal bars. They were freezing cold. I pulled hard. The gate did not move. I pulled again. Nothing. It was locked. No. Panic rushed through my body. I looked through the bars. The empty road outside the cemetery stretched into darkness. Freedom was right there, just a few feet away, but I could not reach it. Behind me, the footsteps stopped. Slowly, I turned around. My flashlight was still lying near one of the graves. The beam pointed across the cemetery. The light showed something that made my blood run cold. Graves were opening all over the cemetery. Soil was shifting. Hands were pushing through the dirt. Gray arms clawed toward the night air. Bodies were rising. Dozens of them. maybe more. And every single one of them had my face. My breathing stopped. It was impossible. They climbed out slowly. Some moved stiffly. Some crawled. Some dragged broken legs through the dirt. But all of them had the same face. My face. The gray Daniel stood in the middle of them, like their leader. He looked at me calmly. "You see now," he said. My voice trembled. "What is this place?" He pointed toward the graves. "This cemetery keeps the versions of you that never live." My brain struggled to understand. Versions? He nodded slowly. Every time fate almost kills you, a version of you dies somewhere. The corpses around him twitched and moved. Car accidents that almost happened. Falling from a building. Drowning. Heart attacks. Knife wounds. Gunshots. Each corpse looked slightly different. One had a deep cut across the throat. Another had broken bones. Another looked burned. But the face was always the same. Mine. The gray Daniel stepped closer to me. "And when your real death finally comes," he said, pointing toward the grave with my name, "you join us here." My head spun. This is insane. But deep inside, I felt something worse. What if he was telling the truth? I looked at the grave again. The date of death. Tomorrow. My throat felt tight. "So what happens now?" The gray Daniel smiled again. "That depends." "On what?" His empty eyes locked onto mine. "On whether you want to die tomorrow," he said, pointing toward the road outside the gate, "or tonight." Then suddenly, one of the corpses behind him screamed. A horrible, broken scream. Its body twisted violently. Its bones cracked. The other corpses stepped back slowly. The gray Daniel frowned. "That should not be happening," he said quietly. The screaming corpse lifted its head. Its eyes suddenly turned black. Completely black. And when it looked at me, I felt something far worse than death. Because that thing was not me anymore. The screaming corpse stopped moving. For a moment, the entire cemetery became silent again. The other bodies stepped away from it slowly, like they were afraid. Very afraid. The gray Daniel stared at the corpse with narrow eyes. "That is not right," he whispered. The corpse slowly lifted its head. Its eyes were completely black now. No white. No pupil. Just darkness. When it opened its mouth, the voice that came out was not mine. It was deeper, older, and filled with something evil. "You opened the gate too early." A cold wave moved through the cemetery. The trees began to shake violently. The wind howled between the gravestones. The gray Daniel stepped backward. For the first time since I saw him, he looked nervous. "You should not be awake," he said to the corpse. The black-eyed corpse slowly stood up. Its bones cracked loudly. Dirt fell from its shoulders. But something was changing in its body. The skin stretched strangely, like something inside it was growing. The other corpses backed away further. Some even fell back into their graves. Fear spread across their faces. The black-eyed corpse turned its head toward me. Slowly, very slowly. "You are the living one," it said. My mouth went dry. "Yes." The creature smiled, but it was not my smile. It was wider. Too wide. "Good." The gray Daniel stepped between us. "You cannot take him," he said firmly. The creature looked at him. "And who will stop me?" The air suddenly felt heavy, like pressure was pushing down on the entire cemetery. The gravestones started to vibrate softly. The gray Daniel pointed toward the grave with my name. "The rules are clear," he said. "The living one dies tomorrow. Not tonight." The creature laughed, a low, horrible sound. "You still believe in rules." It took one step forward. The ground cracked under its foot. The gray Daniel did not move. "If you take him tonight, the balance breaks." The creature leaned closer. Its black eyes stared into the gray Daniel's face. "Exactly." My heart began to pound. "Wait, what balance?" Neither of them answered me. The creature suddenly looked back at me again. "Tell me something, Daniel. Have you ever felt like you were supposed to die before?" My mind flashed with memories. The car accident 2 years ago, the fall from a ladder last summer, the time I almost drowned at the lake. Moments where I should have died, but didn't. My stomach turned. "Yes." The creature smiled wider. "That was not luck." It pointed to the corpses around us. "Those versions of you paid the price." Cold fear spread through my body. The gray Daniel spoke again. "You cannot change fate." The creature slowly walked past him. "Yes, I can." Its eyes locked onto me again. "If I kill the living one tonight, all these deaths disappear." The corpses around us began whispering, soft voices, dozens of them, all with my voice. "Alive, alive, alive." The creature leaned close to my face. Its breath smelled like wet soil and decay. You can save them. My brain spun. Save them? The creature nodded. All you need to do, it pointed toward the open grave behind me, is climb inside. My heart stopped. What? If you willingly take the grave tonight, the creature smiled again. All the other Daniels get their lives back. The corpses looked at me desperately, their hollow eyes filled with silent pleading. The gray Daniel grabbed my shoulder suddenly. Do not listen to it. His voice was urgent now. It lies. The creature laughed again. Or maybe, it looked into my eyes. He is afraid of disappearing. My thoughts were racing. If I refused, I would die tomorrow anyway. If I accepted, everything might end tonight. The grave behind me waited silently. Dark. Open. Cold. The creature whispered one final sentence, and that sentence made my blood freeze. Because if you refuse, I will choose someone else to die in your place. Then the creature pointed toward the road outside the cemetery. And through the iron gate, I saw headlights. A car was coming. Someone else was about to arrive at Raven Hill Cemetery. The headlights grew brighter. A car was slowly driving down the dark road outside Raven Hill Cemetery. My heart started pounding harder. Someone else was coming here. Someone innocent. The creature with black eyes smiled when it saw the lights. Perfect timing, it whispered. No, I said quickly. The gray Daniel grabbed my arm again. You must decide now, he said. Either you take the grave, or someone else dies tonight. The car stopped outside the iron gate. The engine turned off. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then a car door opened. I heard footsteps on the gravel road. Slow footsteps. A flashlight turned on outside the gate. A woman's voice called out. Hello? Is someone in there? My stomach dropped. I walked closer to the gate and looked through the bars. A young woman stood outside. She looked confused. Her flashlight moved across the cemetery sign. Raven Hill Cemetery. She looked at her phone. I swear the GPS said this road leads to the highway, she muttered. The creature behind me laughed softly. Her life is very close to ending. No, I shouted. The woman outside looked toward the gate. Hello. Her light moved toward me. For a second, she saw my face behind the bars. Oh, thank God, she said. I thought I was lost. My chest tightened. I knew what was about to happen. If I did nothing, she would die here, just like the creature promised. Behind me, the open grave waited. Dark, silent, cold. The creature whispered again. Your choice, Daniel. The corpses around the cemetery stared at me. Dozens of versions of my own face. All waiting, all hoping. The gray Daniel spoke quietly. You do not have to do this. But something inside me already knew the truth. Tomorrow I would die anyway. At least this way, someone else would live. I took a slow breath. Then I turned toward the grave. The soil felt soft under my feet. The hole looked deeper now, almost like it was pulling me inside. I heard the woman outside the gate again. Hey, are you okay in there? I did not answer. I stepped to the edge of the grave. Then slowly, I climbed inside. The cold soil touched my hands. The air inside the grave smelled like wet earth and old wood. Above me, the creature smiled. Good choice. The gray Daniel stared down at me. His expression was strange, almost sad. You should not have trusted it, he whispered. My heart skipped. What? Before I could ask anything else, the creature snapped its fingers. Suddenly, dirt began falling into the grave. Fast. Too fast. No, wait. I shouted. The soil poured down like a wave. Within seconds, it covered my legs, my chest, my arms. I tried to climb out, but something invisible pushed me down. The creature leaned over the grave. Its black eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. You misunderstood the deal, it said calmly. What do you mean? I screamed. The creature smiled. You saved her life tonight. The dirt reached my neck. My breathing became hard. But tomorrow, it whispered the final words slowly. The cemetery will still need a Daniel. The last thing I saw before the dirt covered my face was the woman outside the gate. She was watching the cemetery, confused, lost, alive. Then everything went dark. And the next morning, the police arrived at Raven Hill Cemetery. They found something strange. Very strange. A freshly closed grave. The stone read, Daniel Harper. Date of death, today. But the officers noticed something disturbing. The soil on the grave was still moving. Like something underneath it was trying to come out. If you enjoyed this horror story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon for more terrifying stories.